I don't wanna do this anymore.
We can't wait too far. I don't wanna do this anymore. You just wait.
Tears fall down. Seasons move like clouds. I feel like I found. Tears fall down, seasons move like clouds. I feel like I found. I don't need no more. When it comes to all that fate, that's where they acting. We call the humble hearts, but they be capping on. Not everything you see is always what it seems. That's what it seems to me. Not everything is what it seems to be. Oh yeah. That's just how it goes sometimes. That's just how it be sometimes. Sometimes I feel like, is this real? I need to know for sure. Is this all a show? People been asking me some things, I gotta let them know. They say the truth will be revealed, that's what I'm waiting for. I need guidance. I ain't flying private no more. They say community can build, but only if it's real. So please make up your mind what way you choose. Not everything you see is always what it seems. That's what it seems to me. Not everything is what it seems to be. Oh yeah. That's just how it goes sometimes. That's just how it be sometimes. That's just how it goes sometimes. That's just how it goes.
You came to set us free. I can take rest, cause the living God is living in my chest. Every day I wake up feeling blessed, and even if I don't, I see it as a test. Cause I was lost until you found me. Now I know you're all around me. Nothing I could ever do could separate my love from you. You came to set us free. You came to set us free.
Thankful you ain't drive me in that pit. Hey, nah. Saw my soul inside that fam and said that's it. Grace now. You never flake in the cold winter. I just came to ball with the gold winners. Fast forward, turn to a road runner. Spirit caught me here, go get it. Shed blood, gave me lemonade on this cold bending. Pick me up. Always Timmy Turner, always chasing after Vicky. Took me to his spine and gave me peace and chose to cleanse me up. Now I'm testifying of your greatness. This a different look. Go life been hitting hard, let's take it slow. Take a walk by the river and let you flow. Cause Lord, you are all I ever want. You're all I ever want. Cause I was lost until you found me. Now I know you're all around me. Nothing I could ever do to separate my love from you.
2 Corinthians 5:17 says, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. But sometimes people tend to drift away because old habits and old ways start to creep up. And that old self comes back stronger than ever before. And when that happens, only the people around you, your family, your friends, can hold you accountable and save you from yourself. The road get rocky again. I'm back in this thing and I brought me a friend. My sin and thought it could win. I throw up a prayer, it's gone with the wind. Okay, in the studio, locked in the gym. Verses, they turn into hymns. God got my back, I get bored at the rim. God got my back, so I'm chillin' just like a massage. I've been beefing with General Zod, but I know that my General God. Ain't no hook on this, chillin', just nod. Ain't no book on this, I had to grind. But the book from the Lord in my mind. Know the world to get caught outside, so I cook in my court inside. It's a beat we gon' eat, I'll slide. In the booth we got forks and knives. I'm in Eden, my Lord in the skies. And he knew way before my design, way before I was photo of pride. Take a picture, you'll see the disguise. Ain't no fiction, the truth. I had to go get it. I saw me a giant, I had to go slay it. Like David got live, I had to repay him. He sent me new line, I had to relay him. Forgot on my, I gotta re-say him. The father of time, the mastery maker, the Optimus Prime, the Alpha Omega, the master of mind, the galaxy shaker, the one up above, biggest creator.
Bright light, flashing, fresh out the tomb like I'm Lazarus. Hop on the beat, no spazzing. Got him in shot like anaphylactic, ayy. They wanna party on crashing. When I pull up my little shawty like that's him, ayy. Lake with the source, I'm tapped in. Whole new world, Aladdin. Rappers is Disney, clean them up swiftly. Floors on cocaine, floors on Whitney. I don't play no games, better come get me. Used to bump Tripley, not a boy Bigly. Further's on what? Further's on top flow. Shout out to TJ, shout out to Wild, the way I move weight. Must be a topo. I've been in the gym and I'm tryna get Flacco. Might hit the O, pull up on CG, aiming at Eden. I've been in Peachtree, I say my piece and I dish it like Petrie. Yeah, I'm from Florida, where you need AC. When I say hover, I don't mean Daisy. Hover like Rafa, hover like Nisi, hover like Big Guy ever since DC. When the kid pray, devil get CC'd on.
But I'm doing just fine. Planting my seeds and they threw all that dirt. I started to grow, now I know what I'm worth. I walk with the king, bringing heaven to earth. Turn pain into purpose and greatness will birth. The word is the law, the word is the code. Watch me evolve, the demons explode. 66 books to narrow the road. Killing this flesh like a chef on the stove. My life was a mess, but he gave me that hope. Now I'm so blessed cause I gave him control. Feeling like Job, everything the enemy stole, I'ma get it back. 10-4. I got the juice, I got the glow.
Hey y'all, Arson Darksea. How are y'all doing? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing fine. Today is a very special day. This is the first time I've recorded a video with Julie London in over 12 years now, okay? So this is amazing. We finally have Julie London in the building. And so I'm going to read 2 articles and she will read the 3rd at the end. I hope you guys enjoy this and I'm so excited. I know I said that you wouldn't be seeing much of me for a while, but I thought that while I'm working on this Man of God documentary, I would release some videos that I also have been working on for a little while, or anything that I feel that God is calling me to do. Of course, I'm going to do it. I also think it'd be a good idea to try to post something once in a while, especially if this Man of God documentary takes longer than I'm expecting to complete. It'd be good to post something here and there so the channels don't get all stagnant and, you know, people start unsubscribing because they think I'm sleeping or whatever. So please subscribe to all of our channels, which are listed below in the pinned comment and in the description, because NaziTube just deleted my largest personal channel, Arsondarksea, just a few days ago with no warning, and who knows how long this channel or any of the other ones will be around. I just made a new channel called Arsondarksea, the same name of the one that was deleted. It only has, I think, like 18 or 19 subscribers right now. and I would really appreciate it if you could please subscribe to all of our channels so we don't lose touch. So anyway, I'm going to read to you 2 disturbing articles, then I'm going to touch on something that's pretty controversial before Julie London reads you the 3rd article. I hope you guys enjoy this. I love you. Let's move on to the articles. A young girl believed she had met the perfect person and would live happily ever after, but she soon realized that the person she had trusted and placed so much hope in was not who she thought he was, and that her dreams of a perfect relationship were just illusions. At just 12 years old, Carla thought she had met a Prince Charming who would save her from her impoverished life and make her dreams come true. "He bought me clothes and shoes," she told me. "You're going to be my princess," says Carla. But 3 months into the relationship, her scam artist boyfriend revealed his true intentions. It turns out that her 22-year-old prince was actually a pimp and part of an organized crime ring. Carla quickly went from living in a fairy tale to living out her biggest nightmare. Her pimp sold her for sex all across Mexico, forcing her to keep a daily log of the men she slept with. She was forced to have sex with at least 30 men every day for 4 years without a single day off. "I started at 10 a.m. and finished at midnight," recalls Carla. "Some men would laugh at me because I was crying. I had to close my eyes so that I wouldn't see what they were doing to me and that I wouldn't feel anything." The now 23-year-old estimates that from age 12 to 16, she was raped no less than 43,200 times. After finally escaping those 4 years of pure hell, Carla has made it her life's mission to raise awareness about the dangers of sex trafficking. From press conferences to public events, she's told her survival story to anyone willing to listen. Carla even shared her heartbreaking journey with Pope Francis at the Vatican and spoke to the U.S. Congress in hopes of getting legislation passed to prevent other young girls from being trapped in human trafficking rings. "I'm going to fight against this until the end," says Carla. "Every day when I wake up, I wonder if I'm going to be alive at the end of the day because of what we do, and what I have experienced makes me a target. Death is lurking." But even the threat of death is not enough to stop her from fighting against the twisted industry that has scarred her for life, along with thousands of other helpless girls. See more of Carla's brave story in the interview below.
Growing up in Mexico, life for Carla Jacinto wasn't a fairy tale. But at 12 years old, she thought she had met her Prince Charming.
He bought me clothes and shoes. He told me, "You're going to be my princess."
Carla's new boyfriend was older and from a faraway village called Tenancingo. But after 3 months, the relationship changed and the scam was revealed. Carla's prince was actually a pimp working as part of an organized crime ring based in Tenancingo. He told her she would be working the streets as a prostitute.
He started punching me, kicking me, pulling my hair. He would spit on my face. That day, he even burned me with iron.
Susan Coppage is the U.S. State Department's ambassador at large to combat human trafficking. Before that, she worked at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Atlanta, Georgia.
We've prosecuted numerous cases here in Atlanta involving traffickers from Mexico, and particularly Tenancingo.
Coppage says oftentimes entire families in Tenancingo and the rest of Tlaxcala State are in on the scam. CNN over several weeks made numerous attempts to speak with Tenancingo town officials. We even went to the mayor's office twice, but were denied interviews each time. Coppage says there's good reason for the officials being evasive.
Well, we've been told by the traffickers themselves and by the young girls that this town raises pimps, that's what they've done for generations. That's what the town does. That's their industry. And yet, in smaller rural communities around there, the young girls don't have any idea that this is what that town's reputation is.
Carla says she was forced to prostitute for 4 years with never a day off. She says her pimp trafficked her across Mexico, demanding she see at least 30 customers a day and keep a daily log of clients. By age 16, Carla calculates she was raped more than 43,200 times.
There were men that would go just to laugh at me. They laughed when I cried.
Imagine in the mind of a 12 years old who is raped. If she cried, he will hit her worse. If she didn't cry, he will hit her again.
Rosy Orozco is a victim's advocate. The former Mexican senator says it's the powerful who allow trafficking to continue.
She had clients that were judges, priests, pastors, police. So she knew that she could not run away to go to the authorities.
Carla says one time 30 uniformed police officers raided the brothel she was in, but instead of making arrests or rescues, they made a deal with the brothel owner.
The uniformed police officers entered the room we were in. We had to do everything they asked of us. The whole thing lasted 3 or 4 hours.
What was going through your mind at that point, thinking that those who are supposed to protect you were abusing you?
They were sickening to me, because they could see we were minors. It was obvious, right? We looked our age. We weren't even fully developed. They could see our sad faces.
There are an estimated 2 million children exploited every year in the global commercial sex trade. Violence, corruption, and a mix of fear and shame are major factors keeping children from trying to escape.
And you lived this hell for 4 years?
You see me now with a smile on my face, but when I remember all of that, it still hurts a lot. I'm going to fight against this until the end. Every day when I wake up, I wonder if I'm going to be alive at the end of the day because of what we do, and what I have experienced makes me a target. Death is lurking.
I'm sorry.
The pain in Carla's face is clear. But perhaps the true tragedy of her story is that it's shared by so many other children like her, still being controlled by human traffickers as we speak. Rafael Romo, CNN, Mexico City.
Oh, that's so heartbreaking. I can't imagine the pain she's gone through, the pain she's currently going through, and all I can do is just hope and pray that she finds true peace and happiness and salvation through Jesus Christ. It's so important to keep a close eye on your children and keep them away from bad influences. Don't let your child date. Don't let your child especially date someone old like that. Don't let your 12-year-old be with a 22-year-old. That's insane. Of course, most parents nowadays suck, but at least I can say that. At least I can put that out there. Maybe some young parent, maybe there's a young pregnant mother out there listening who will be like, yeah, you know, I was thinking I would let strangers babysit, but maybe now listening to you, I'll reconsider. I don't know. That's all I can hope. But sadly, as we're going to learn from this second story, it's often the people closest to you, people in the family who you can't even trust. So let's move on to the second story, which is extremely disturbing as well. And I'm sorry I sound bad, I'm so congested right now. In her book, Who Will Believe You?, the unfortunate woman, Kim, said that when she grew up as a young teen, she always had 2 uniforms, one for school and one for her father, who plied her with alcohol and raped her for hours before she left school in the morning. According to Kim, her father, Francis, started raping her when she was just 11 years old. At the age of 15, the young teen became pregnant with his child and was pressured into a horrific DIY abortion. He told me I would be dissolved in acid if I ever told, and that the only thing that would be left of me would be my teeth, said the now 52-year-old woman in her new book. According to Kim, her dad reportedly forced her to drink home-brewed beer and wine laced with pure alcohol, which he took from the laboratories where he worked. The renowned microbiologist would routinely rape her before school, leading her to have 2 traumatic abortions. According to the Daily Mail, when she was 15 years old, and despite being forced to take the contraceptive pill, the young teen became pregnant and had to endure the harrowing ordeal of having an abortion in an African country where the procedure was illegal. When he estimated she was 12 weeks along, her father told her to lie on her back while he put a coat hanger inside to poke the baby out. For the next 15 minutes, my father used a coat hanger and a torch to perform his DIY abortion. By the end of it, I was in agony. When that failed, he tried to suck out the fetus using a bicycle pump, before eventually taking her to a doctor to arrange a termination. The following year, the young girl again fell pregnant, but this time her father wanted to keep the baby and live as a family. I had to have an abortion when I was 15 years old, she says. I couldn't believe it when I was pregnant again less than a year later. This time, he wanted to keep the baby and play happy families. Having an abortion was traumatic, but there was no way I was going to go through with this plan. A friend helped and he arranged an abortion. When she was 21 years old, Kim met her husband, Jonathan, a meeting that would signal the end of the abuse. She married him and went on to having a lasting marriage with 2 children and 1 grandchild. Her 82-year-old dad was finally brought to justice and was locked up for 20 years after a jury found him guilty of 5 offenses of rape between 1979 and 1985. The pensioner initially denied any sexual contact had ever taken place with his daughter when he was first questioned by officers after he was finally arrested. By the time of his trial, he claimed that they had been in a consensual sexual relationship when she was 17. Francis stood in the witness box and claimed his own daughter had seduced him. He also tried to claim he believed Kim was not his natural daughter. I don't even know what to say about that. That is absolutely horrific. It's so sad what that girl had to go through. It's so sad the children that were murdered because of all of this. It's sad that after all she went through, she couldn't get anything close to proper closure. He wouldn't even admit it and blames her for what she went through. I can't imagine being raped by my own dad and him killing my children and going through all of that, and he can't even admit it, and he also wants to add more insult to injury and blame me for it. I don't understand what happened with her mother, if her mother may have died when she was young, or why her mom or no one could have stepped in, but I'm looking at another article about her here, and it says, Kim, now 56 years old and a mother, grandmother, and businesswoman, was just 11 years old when abuse started in Kenya. It continued back in Leeds up until she reached the age of 20, only stopping when she met and married husband Jonathan. More than 30 years later, it was Jonathan who went to police to report the abuse, fearing Kim was about to lose her life to alcoholism, having buried herself in drink due to the ongoing trauma of her childhood, which, I mean, that is completely understandable. Anyone who went through what she went through, I mean, yeah, they'd probably be an alcoholic or worse. Anyway, after she was interviewed by police, Beaumont was arrested and charged. Kim went to rehab to get sober, and a year later, in early 2018, faced her father from a witness box at Leeds Crown Court, refusing the opportunity to give evidence by video link or from behind a curtain. Beaumont was found guilty of 5 rapes in the UK between 1979 and 1985 and jailed for 20 years. The judge told him, "This is a case where your sexual depravity has wrecked a young life. The life of a child who relied on you and loved you as a father. Now, after many years, you finally take the consequences of what you did to your young and vulnerable daughter." In the wake of the trial, Kim waived her right to anonymity to tell her story to a Yorkshire Evening Post journalist in hope of helping other abuse survivors. The subsequent media interest sparked the idea of a book, and Who Will Believe You? The unflinching account of the abuse, trial, and terrible impact on Kim and her family was published on April 15th this year. In the 6 weeks since, she has been inundated with positive feedback from readers, many of whom are also survivors of abuse. One woman even tracked down her phone number and called her, sobbing down the line about her own experience. Kim is clear about why she chose to reveal such intimate details of her life in a positive way. The reason I've done it is to raise awareness about a common, dreadful scourge in our society in order to help other survivors of historic abuse. She says, adding that she hopes to give others the courage to come forward and prove that really no matter what you're up against, justice can be done. That's the message I really want to get across, says Kim. This is 30 to 40 years ago, and I got justice after that length of time, which is amazing. This is to give a voice to all of those who find themselves without sufficient voice or the strength to be heard, and about letting people know that this abuse does happen and it shouldn't be glossed over. It wasn't easy writing about such traumatic memories, and Kim stresses that going down the criminal justice route is not for everyone. Initially, she didn't want her father prosecuted when her husband went to the police. I was so ill that Jonathan didn't think I was going to live much longer, she says. I was drinking myself to death in effect. Out of desperation, he went to the police. I was fuming. I didn't want anything to happen to him because he's my dad. I'd lived with this all my life, and I just thought I needed to pull myself together and get on with my life, but obviously I couldn't. Also, it was my word against his. I was hoping that the CPS wouldn't take it on. I didn't think I had the strength to do it, but I also couldn't face the prospect of him going to prison, and although I didn't want him to be found guilty, I was also frightened that if he wasn't found guilty, then people might think that I was lying. Beaumont was charged, and Kim was determined to get sober. She went to rehab in February 2017 and has not had a drop of alcohol since. I wanted to get myself sober to be strong enough to be there to face him. She says, in 2018, in April, I stood there and I faced the entire court and faced him. The day of the trial, I'll never forget standing at home, and I was so scared, I was petrified. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and I just thought, you know what, Kim, you can do this. You are telling the truth, and that's what really gave me strength. They told me that because of the sort of abuse it was, that I could be protected behind a curtain, or it could be done by video link. But I thought, why should I hide? I've hidden all of my life. Why should I hide from him? Speaking about the decision to waive her right to anonymity, Kim says her biggest worry was people knowing about her alcohol addiction. I'm such a private person, and alcohol has made me feel so ashamed. It wasn't the fact that he'd abused me, it was the alcohol, because I was still in denial. Now I can tell people, I'm a recovering alcoholic. As well as describing the dark times, the book also aims to show others that there can be a light at the end of the tunnel. Kim, who lived at Street Lamb near North Allerton for many years and now lives in Hurtworth near Darlington, was backed by her husband and their now 2 grown-up children every step of the way. The couple will celebrate their 30th wedding anniversary in June. Kim has taken up running, is planning to go on a course in counseling, and is looking into opening a drop-in center for abused women in Darlington. I don't owe it to anybody, but I would just love to be able to help other people because I don't want anyone else to go through what I went through, she says. Pausing, she adds, my dad said I was the weakest. I tell you something, how I've proved him wrong. Who Will Believe You? By Kim Chown is available on Amazon and in most major bookstores. Aww. I'm so happy for her. I'm glad that she has found the courage to keep fighting, not just for herself, getting her dad arrested, but also fighting for other women who have been abused and raising awareness to abuse and all of that. And it's just a really sad story, and I just hope nothing but good things for her and that she improves. And ultimately, of course, I hope that her and her family find Jesus Christ. Please pray for the people in these stories, and even the abusers. Pray that they still find salvation through Jesus Christ and that they repent and that their hearts are softened, because we've all fallen short. We've all done horrible things, and we all can be forgiven, even though a lot of people don't like to think about that, and they think that some people just aren't redeemable. I believe that everyone can be redeemed, and I have seen people of all kinds be redeemed, so we should keep everyone in prayer. This is a time of mercy and grace, and it's not going to be around for long, so we got to just find the strength inside of us and that love that Jesus Christ has for us and disperse it to everyone around us, even if we, in our human thinking, in our lowly human thinking, believe that there's no point in praying for so-and-so. Why not shoot a quick prayer, just in case? because God's ways are not our ways. God's thoughts are not our thoughts. His ways are much higher than ours. And He's telling us to be gracious to everybody and to love everybody and be forgiving. And speaking of forgiveness, I'm going to talk about something that's quite controversial, and a lot of people may not agree with me, but as horrible as these experiences were for these women, it is so important to forgive. I've been raped and molested before. I've had it happen in my childhood, and I've been molested as an adult and sexually harassed. And even though I haven't gone through anything as extreme as what these women went through, I do know what it's like to have PTSD and to feel like one person ruined my life. And like I can't forgive them. Even if I wanted to, I just couldn't because the pain is just too much to bear. And that's what's so important about having Jesus Christ on your side and being a follower of Him, because we can cast our worries and our problems and our pain onto Him. There's so much for us to go through as a human being. There's so much baggage that we carry every day. And we can cast that up to Him so that we don't have this stuff just constantly eating us alive and tormenting us. Also, because of what atrocities we went through, demons are going to torment us even more and keep reminding us and bringing back all this pain and confusion and anger. So even though it is so difficult to do, we need to try to forgive. And 2 things that I wish someone would have told me would be, number 1 is all you have to do is ask. Every single day. Just once a day. Do it maybe as soon as you wake up in the morning so you don't forget, or at least do it before you go to bed at night. And ask God to please forgive you of all of your sins and shortcomings, and to help you forgive everyone you haven't forgiven already. Because the Bible says God can't forgive us if we don't forgive others. How can we expect Him to forgive us if we can't forgive one another, right? And just asking Him to help us to forgive is a big deal. That's one step closer to forgiveness. That's humbling yourself to even, have your mind open to the idea of forgiveness. Because holding on to a grudge can be a pretty prideful thing when you think about it, especially if you want to call yourself a Christian, because you're thinking, well, I'm worthy of being forgiven, even though I did all of these sins that are worthy of me going to hell. This other person wronged me, and I'm so much more important than God being wronged, so this person belongs in hell and I don't. I know that you don't really think that way, but when you break it down, that's kind of what it is when you don't forgive someone and you're holding on to this grudge. It can be so hard to let that forgiveness in. And the second thing I wish someone had told me 1,000,000 years ago is that forgiveness is a process. I didn't understand for so long what forgiveness really even was, because it's like, well, someone wronged me. If somebody stole all my money and now I'm homeless and whatever, how am I supposed to forgive them? What does that even mean? I can't forget what they did, and what they did is still affecting me and still hurting me, and I'm thinking of it every day, so what even is forgiveness? And I had such a hard time understanding that. And I would have people hurt me, and, it'd be people I love, and, maybe it could be a family member or whatever, and they would do something to hurt me really badly. And just because I wasn't able to erase it from my mind and not mention it again and not have it affect me ever again, they would think, well, you didn't forgive me. You're supposed to forgive me. And it's like, well, I'm sorry. I'm not a robot. I can't turn my feelings off. How do I do this? And then 2 years ago, or about 2 years ago, when I first came to Christ, and I was struggling with understanding what forgiveness was, and I was kind of freaking out because I had just learned that, oh, wow, you can go to hell if you don't have forgiveness. A lot of people go to hell for unforgiveness and all this pride, and you've really got to forgive. And I was like, I don't know how I can. How can I forgive all these people who ruined my life? And I've got all this PTSD because of them. Like, for a long time, my PTSD was so bad from these people that every time I would open my bedroom door and leave my room, I would have my hand in a fist ready to punch someone, because I would always be on defensive mode, and it's something I'm starting to work through, and God has healed me almost 100% of that. and I'm not so defensive and ready to fight or anything anymore. But, you know, PTSD, it's a lot to deal with, and it is still something I'm working through a bit, especially when it comes to if I'm in the middle of a deep sleep and then someone starts banging at the front door or something. That sometimes freaks me out. But other than that, I'm almost completely cured, thank God. But anyway, a couple of years ago, I found this article that really helped me understand what forgiveness was, and just something about this article really moved me to see what this woman had gone through and how she is forgiving her abusers. And I really want to share this with you. For anybody out there, you don't have to be a victim of sexual abuse. Maybe someone mugged you. Maybe somebody just betrayed you somehow. Whatever. It doesn't matter what someone did to you. If there's someone in your life you have not fully forgiven, please listen to this and please ask Jesus Christ to help you to forgive. It's okay if it's a process. It's okay if maybe Monday you feel nothing but good things about your past abuser. And then Tuesday you have these feelings bubbling back up. You just got to pray. As soon as you get feelings of, oh, I hate that person, or that person makes me angry, or I can't believe what they did to me, oh, I wish I could punch them, or anything like that, say no. God forgave me. I need to forgive them. Lord, please help me to forgive them, right? Because whenever that stuff bubbles back up, that means, okay, I still have forgiving to do. It's still a process. And as long as God sees you trying your best, that means something to him, and that's a big deal. So Julie London, who's Prideless Chick number 3, is going to read this next article to you, and I really hope it means something to you because this is a powerful article I've been holding on to for like 2 years. I'm so glad I've saved it and I was able to find it for you today, and I feel like God has really moved me to talk about this issue today because so many people think that they're right with God, but they haven't forgiven everyone. And even if you think you have forgiven everyone, you still need to ask God to help you forgive everyone you haven't forgiven already, because only He knows who you have not fully forgiven. And even though you're living a peaceful, happy life and you feel like you have forgiven everyone, you don't know 100%. So it's just good to keep that prayer in practice. All right, let's move on to the article.
It's been 41 years since those bully boys stole my body, mind, and bits and pieces of my shattered soul. They posed as interested neighbors, ready to help my ancient babysitter. They'd take me off her hands, lessen her load, which is strange if you knew me back then. I wasn't a handful. I'd already learned the art of being invisible. And if I wasn't occupying myself alone, I found ways to please people. I was a good little girl, innocent, even. Those friendly boys, brothers, Boy Scouts, took me into the woods. They invited friends to take turns. They violated me under 2 tall evergreen trees. They took me home with them, stealing more of me in their bunk beds, a sheet draped over the bottom bunk so they could do it privately. All while their June Cleaver mom hummed pop tunes and made cookies just 2 rooms away. I wondered if she knew. I escaped their clutches by sleeping all afternoon into the early evening, and later we moved far, far away. But their haunting stayed with me. I felt dirty, violated, utterly alone with my secret story. I tucked it in a dark corner. The story didn't resurface until I met Jesus. And then it leaked, then gushed from me in anguish. How do you forgive that? When I met Jesus, I learned that he forgave me. Growing up in a sexually charged culture like that, coupled with a father with a sexual addiction, I struggled with pornography as a teen. It's stark and embarrassing to write it here, but there it is, ugly and real. I struggled to believe I'd been forgiven for reading those books, those magazines. Choosing to forgive those boys didn't happen overnight. In fact, they were all still tendrils of unforgiveness living in a heart, evidenced by the sick feeling in my stomach right now. Because if I'd met boys like that now who dared to touch my girls, my first thought would be murder. Yes, Jesus says, even if we think murder, it's sin. I have so much that needs to be forgiven. But how do you forgive the boy's violation? You start by making a choice to forgive. You continue by walking the radical, nonsensical journey of forgiveness. Today, I'm taking another step towards forgiveness. Right here, right now, on this blog. I'm writing a letter to those boys whose first names I cannot recall, but whose last name has caused me to Google the heck out of it, wondering what they are doing today. Is he the teacher who had been suspended for inappropriate behavior? Is his brother the architect, lawyer? I do not know who these men are today. But perchance by God's great mystery, if they ever stumble across the blog, this letter's for them. Dear boys of the last name that roils my insides, I am still angry. What you did, oh, what you did. Your choices dug scars the size of channels in my soul. You stole me, my innocence, my wide-eyed trust, my valiant view of life, my bravery, all kidnapped. In the aftermath of a sexual abuse, I hollowed. I believed lies about myself. I am unworthy of being protected. My self-worth equals my sexuality, but in the most warped way. Did you think of those things while you satisfied your base desires? Did you realize you destroyed a little girl's kindergarten life? Had you no shame to violate a 5-year-old girl for your pleasure? You had so much bravery in your sin, violating me while your mom cooked. No fear, and yet your actions made me run scared most of my life, looking around corners, running, afraid a villain would grab me. You marked me. Ever since your violating act, a mark danced on my forehead for all abusers and violators to see, as if they were blacklight, and the mark fluorescent. It was a ticket for further predators. I am still angry, because when I watched my own daughters turn 5 years old, I could barely breathe. Such fear, such sadness. All I wanted to do was report my girls. I was so small when you took me into the woods, so incapable of running away, and if I had tried, your hissed words would have turned me around and be reviolated. We will kill your parents if you tell anyone. To protect my parents, I kept my mouth shut tight, and I dared not run. But if I stay, camped in the land of vengeance, my joy will emaciate. You will have won the conquest. You see, I met Jesus when I was 15 years old, 10 years after you scared the hell out of me, 5 years after my father died. Gentle Jesus found me just in time. Those suicide swirling thoughts had hypercharged my mind. I wondered what in the world I was doing here on this green, tall-treed earth. Was my purpose to be violated? To be used by others like you two? Or did I have some other unknown purpose? Under an evergreen tree, the memories of your violation stung my eyes. And yet there, in that sacred place, I met Jesus. He took my sin, oh, so many sins, innumerable are they, and flung it eastward into a projectile 1 billion miles away from me. He cleaned me, scrubbing my aching heart, and started me down the painful, beautiful road of healing. He took my sin and my pain. He changed my I was statements into I am statements. I was molested. I am cherished by God. I was stolen from. I am given everlasting, joyful, abundant life. I was less than. I am more than I ever thought I'd be. I am free to forgive you. I am free to look upon you with graced eyes. I am made whole by a holy God. Hallelujah. I understand better now. I thank God by the time I reached your age, I met Jesus. I could have been you. I could have given in to the vile urges inside, crossed over many a barrier had I not been rescued. Without Jesus, I shudder to think what I would have become. Which brings me to a vulnerable place and a deep, deep sadness for you. If statistics play out, you didn't violate me for kicks. You did what had been done to you. You imitated the life you had. You acted out on the very thing that agonized you. The thing you hated is what you became. There came a day when you made a choice to give in to the madness in your head, where you believed you deserved satisfaction. Someone stole from you, so you may as well steal from someone else. I see Jesus, naked on the cross with labored breathing. He understands the vulnerability of nakedness. On that cross, he could have crucified all the violators, all those who sent him there, but he breathed wild forgiveness. He chose to do what you did not. He suffered for someone else's sin, and instead of enacting vengeance, he ushered in an era of grace. I wish this Jesus for you. I worry about you. Maybe you stuffed your memories of the little community near the salty water. Maybe you scrubbed those woods from your mind. You've shoved it away, way down. Guilt riddles you, but you cannot articulate why. I'm proof, beautiful proof, that you can be set free. You can be scrubbed clean. You can be forgiven. But you cannot heal in silence. An untold story never heals. I challenge you, as the scab-kneed girl you sexually assaulted, to give it up. Tell the story. Ask Jesus to forgive you. All I can do is pray that you'll find this letter through some beautiful God-breathed serendipity and finally want to be set free from what you did to me. I forgive you both, you brothers in crime, you brothers who ruined 1 year of my scared and scarred life, you brothers who most likely were violated too. Come to the fountain of forgiveness, inaugurated by Jesus. Let my words serve as your entryway. I forgive you. My mountain of sins toward a holy God dwarfs the molehills you enacted against me. I read Jesus' words about the unmerciful servant and understand. Then the master called the servant in. You wicked servant, he said. I canceled all that debts of yours because you begged me to. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant just as I had on you? Matthew 18:32-33. If I really, really believe in naked Jesus on the cross who bore all my shame and sin and muck, then I have to believe his sacrifice is sufficient for you too. His mercy sparks deep mercy in me toward you. It's odd, this affection, this ache I have for you too. I long to see you free from those memories, from the abuse you enacted and the abuse you faced. I cannot offer clever solutions or pay for years of therapy to eradicate the pain. All I have is beautiful Jesus. All I have is my life made whole. All I have is my testimony. All I have is this: I am okay. I am wildly loved by my Creator. I am healed. I am living a life of truly impossible joy. I am angry, but the anger redirects when I realize that Satan's greatest weapon is sexual violation. I'm angry at the powers of darkness that ignite deep, awful, scary soul wounds through pornography, sex trafficking, sexual abuse, and sexual addiction. I'm flat out rage-filled because he has succeeded in stealing, killing, and destroying so many lives. This must stop, for my sake, for your sake, for our sake. Satan, you cannot have these boys now turned men. Satan, you are not allowed victory in this arena. Jesus trumps your vile deeds. What you gleefully applauded in the darkness, Jesus heals audaciously in the light. You cannot and will not win. Light always, always, always pushes out darkness. Always. Your days are numbered, and those who follow Jesus are sick to death of your sexual schemes against humanity. We stand for healing. We stand in Jesus' strength for the sake of future radically saved lives. We who know redemption are tired of miring ourselves in the painful past. Instead, we still stand. We will dance. We will give our healed lives to rescue souls from the darkness. What Satan intended, and even you brothers, meant for evil, God makes a holy turnaround. We who desperately needed rescue are now agents of rescue, of reconciliation, of forgiveness. Oh, that you would experience this new life Jesus offers you. Brothers of the last name, I invite you on the journey. And if you ever meet under the evergreens, by God's life-altering grace, I will hug you. I will pray for you. I will weep. I will say forgiveness words. I will welcome you to the family of the messy yet redeemed, standing in the glorious sweet light of Jesus. Mary, no longer 5, wholly loved. P.S. If you're reading this and you have the same story as those brothers, please let this message seep deep into your heart. The God who hung naked offers you a way out. His scarred hands are the hands of victory and forgiveness and light. Extend your hand to him. He who stoops to the earth is reaching out to you. P.P.S. If you're reading this and you are the child under the evergreens, consider writing a letter. In this moment, I can say catharsis blesses and kingship with Jesus erupts.
When my heart's in pain, I call on your name. With you I feel complete, I really need you to stay. No, I wait too long. Can you play this song one more time? I just wanna dance right here with you. Scars all on your hands, you hold me, ooh. You exceedingly abundantly more than I could ask for. You are exceedingly abundantly more than I could ask for. 'Cause God been moving mountains since the day we met. Look at the flowers and the roses when he paints them red. You say walk by faith, not by sight. So every night I just wanna dance right here with you. Scars all on your hands, you hold me. Exceedingly abundantly more than I could ask for. Exceedingly abundantly more than I could ask for. When my heart's in pain, I call on your name. I need your living water, walk with me through the spring. Bottles of water, follow me. Holy water, hallowed be your name. No God that is the same.